Greetings. Man, I'm telling you, I almost didn't make this video. Give honor to source. Give honor to the ancestors known and unknown. I'm telling you, I almost didn't make this video. I was sitting here not trying to overthink how I should position this camera, this phone. I do not want to hold it. I don't want my nipples all on the fucking camera and stuff. I ain't trying to expose you. I'm just relaxing right now. Let's see, how can I get this thing positioned? Shout out to y'all, wherever you are on your journey. Shout out to you. You know, wherever you are. Yeah. Just go ahead and kind of like try to get into this. Don't mind me, I did a little workout earlier and took a shower, so I felt really relaxed after that. This discussion, I'm trying to get positioned so I don't really have to hold this camera, this phone. If I can just get it to do. It may actually work if I do that. I'm just gonna be wanting to flash y'all, be showing y'all boobies and stuff. That may actually work right there. And the first time I seen a nipple or something. Let me jump right into this. It's a topic that I really been wanting to discuss. That's been heavy in my soul and spirit. And I didn't really know the duration of this video or what, but I really came to talk about how it is important for us, or those of you that know yourself to be healers. Some may use the term shadow workers, or those that work with the shadow in the sense of like facing your fears, your own darkness, to bring forth a more balanced and neutral approach to the world that we live in. And that being said, it's like our moment is now. And the beauty of all of this that I'm seeing now is that there was a point in my life where I did not believe that anything and everything what I was doing had a purpose. And the importance of, let me make this very clear. We deserve to see a healthy version, to be a healthy version for ourselves. Our kids deserve to be and to experience a healthy version of ourselves. Now, being in the world, living in a world, not being of it, but being in a world where, again, I've talked about how these things aren't prioritized when it comes to like healthy dynamics, or even, a lot of us as men even having healthy men in our lives. And so, and the women, a lot of us never really had a healthy exchange with women for years, and men. And so a lot of us never really witnessed healthy dynamics. And a lot of us now are facing or looking at those very traumas, wounds, whether internally, and having to face them now, whether with kids or not, and having to, I wouldn't necessarily say suffer, but really acknowledge and take into account the consequences that have come with what we have inherited, both from matriarchal and patriarchal. And I'm just gonna be fucking authentic with y'all. Like, these, whether it's, no matter people's status or whatever, celebrities, it doesn't matter. These are not your saviors. A lot of them are part of the old world. Some may say the Matrix. Some may call it, um, it's many different terms you can use, but a lot of them are what we call of the world, and their pride and their ego won't allow them to succumb to um, really seeing the oneness in all and everything until something divine order, which is now being restored. And what I mean by that is like um, exactly what they've been putting out is returning. And I'm calling it all out when it even comes to seeing the certain music push, certain dialogue, certain narratives push, and then that shit, like, if you would have asked me years ago of who I was becoming, or did I know that this was part of my path, that would be probably a yes and I also know. But just knowing my own journey and the uniqueness of it, I like really get so much clarity now on why it's so important to be authentic, why it's so important to uphold core values such as integrity and morality, or principles, and restoring those things, because again, these things have been lost, and you've been in a world full of lost souls or lost individuals, and you can see how chaotic things have become just simply because a lot of us haven't had internal peace or internal or come to terms or a deep acceptance of actually what what we what we're really here to do. And now seeing the major shift, uh, one can find yourself teeter-tottering between like whether keep continuously being in a loop or really having the courage through integrity to fucking face these things, these childhood traumas, these things that we didn't even realize we inherited, whether subconsciously until we reenacted them consciously, and then became aware as men and women of our actions. And a lot of us are the future leaders, healers, um, that the world is going to need. Yes, you. A lot of us are that. And what I say, the reason that it's so vital is because when I sit back and observe and I realize and I see what's happening and see how much is crumbling, see how much that isn't being displayed or what is being displayed in the media, so many distractions from yourself, from really learning who you are. And most importantly, these people in certain places don't give a fuck about your kids. Let's just be honest. They don't care about the youth, because they targeted the youth. We were also a part of being targeted when it came to us looping through traumas, through media, through the schooling, through so much corruption when it came to just anything being inauthentic or unauthenticity, really keeping us from our imagination or really being ourselves. So right now the wounds are exposed to humanity. Everyone's wounds are exposed, and our inner childs are crying out, and a lot of us don't even know how to nurture. One thing I had to accept, like, even as if I use the term healer, or really just like accepting my part and my role, is that a lot of us, we can't really save people from, and no matter their age, save them from the demographics of what they're doing. It's simply just being a bridge or planting a seed, whether you want to be a spiritualist, a healer, or those who know their darkness but operate with the light as well, knowing the balance between seeing the wholeness, the yin and yang aspect of, operating that. Like do no harm but taking no shit from people. And the importance of this right now is like our youth deserves people who are going to treat them in a genuine, loving manner, and in an accepting manner, and also teaching them in wherever we are, because this is my way of giving back, or giving what wasn't given to me. Finding ways, to share with the youth, no matter their age, and even finding ways to be a part of certain communities again, where you just plant your seeds. And I'll give you a simple example, like I've created masterpieces to where I've donated to communities, and it's not about boasting or bragging. It has nothing to do with that, nothing egotistical. It's about simply, you know, at a point in time, I was so focused on, well, I got to get this from creating this masterpiece. I have to do this. And in reality, the bigger picture, the Most High wanted me to see is that I want you to take all 20, 30 of those masterpieces that you did and donate them. And it was placed on my heart simply because of this. It will have much more of an impact and a ripple effect on how many of the youth see something that inspires them, reminds them of their, their essence, their imagination, and so forth. Even in a place or in these environments where, when they have to go home to whether a verbal or physical or, emotional abusive household, and just from that experience, that's simply men plant seeds. As a wise man once told me, men plant seeds. And, what's so interesting about that is like, I recall visiting this place and having an interaction with a little boy. And at the time, the community center wasn't open. But had I known, and I had took some masterpieces, and by it not being open during the so-called summertime, I had put masterpieces outside and, wrote on a note like, hey, this is for anybody who will be open to receive. And then my departure with that, I saw, a little boy and his mom walking through the park. And when I was there, I was like, I had one extra masterpiece. I said, here you go. I would like to offer this to you. And she was like, oh, it just happened to be his birthday. And I was like, divine timing. So even with that, just things as simple as planting seeds like that. And this is the thing I'm bringing to the awareness, like the men in your life, women or men, the young women, young men, and whether you're in a relationship, marriage, wherever you are, your age, be very aware, especially young men, aware of who is planting seeds in your life to keep you inspired, uplifted, showing an appreciation of who you are internally, showing, giving you that appreciation. And it's not always through actions. It's just simply showing up in a healthy way. Because we all know, whether, depending on your demographics, we all are familiar with these fucking unhealthy patterns. We all know what it is to deal with some of us know what to deal with. I know a person to deal with an unhealthy mother or unstable mother emotionally and so forth. Then I had to really get to this place where I am presently, where I deserve not just the mother aspect taught me to be able to see the wounds of her and not be able to label all women, as, wounded, but also learn to see through a healthy lens that, and now having getting to this place, it's like the healing brings forth the wholeness around being able to see. It's almost like to be able to see in the dark, and be the light in the darkness, but be able to also see the woundedness in the inner child and all of these people who are lashing out, projecting, or coming from a place where, whether they're unintentionally or unconsciously are hurting people, or they are intentionally doing it because their own selfish attachments. And so with that, that experience showed me that, the youth is the ones coming up behind us. And so my message to a lot of you, especially mothers, you mothers and or women. Things are changing. The consciousness, the collective, everything is shifting. And it's very important that we take back our power, stand in our power. You, no matter where you are, have the courage to be willing to take accountability for where you are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Don't matter if you're on the street or near to something like as such, or whatever you're going through. The importance of it is I encourage you to find peace within yourself. And that's something, the reason why that's so vital is that your kids will inherit that. Because we think you hear about inheritance, immediately people go to think about material things, superficial things where money and all like this. But spiritually, we inherit the traumas of what our mom went through in the womb, what we went while we were in the womb, or whatever she experienced with our fathers. The interactions. Was her pregnancy healthy? Did she have emotional support? Did she have, support? Did she have a stable place? Was she stable emotionally? It's so many things to where how much we're healing from and recovering from. It's not just physical, it's an internal thing. And so sometimes we don't even realize a lot of things we're battling with has a lot to do with ancestral things or things within our lineage. And the toughest things is to be the so-called black sheep. People use this term chosen or elected, anointed, whatever. The toughest thing is for you, even when you're creating or have created your own tribe, and let's say you and the father, mother of your child are, not seeing eye to eye and so forth, it is still your responsibility to take care of you. This is the importance of, the new world, or the spiritual teachers and the holistic people, the holistic approach. The holistic approach is about seeing the totality, the wholeness of seeing your darkness and seeing the light. You being your light and your darkness, and you being able, that light shines, it shines on the darkness, the things that you don't want to see, the things that you continue to refuse to acknowledge. Nothing's going to change until it starts with you. Nobody outside of you externally is your savior. Nobody. When and the reason being because things are shifting, and I can see how things are, the recovery of how much we have been wounded, both in the feminine and masculine aspect, which we both carry these energies, is how I had to realize, for me to even get to this place, is for me to even see how could I even approach and be able to speak about these things if I haven't acknowledged it, if I didn't play a role in it. How could I heal if I don't acknowledge the wound, if I don't acknowledge the internal aspect of that? And this is what our communities, our people, especially our women and so forth, young women, everybody needs that encouraging and supportive messages, encouraging messages in these moments where you got people that don't even know how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to do this, and not really acknowledging the fact of, like, a lot of these things where we invested so much of our energy, as we heal, those things crumble. As you begin to change internally, your external world changes. The people around you change. Things begin to change. And I always tell people, like, okay, now, where's the awareness around? Now we have a deeper awareness about, knowing how the importance of acknowledging the healing and seeing that. Well, what do you really want with your kids, and who do they really need to be influenced by? When you really see the toxicity and a lot of these things that's going on right now, And deep down your intuition is saying like, I really don't want my son hanging out with these men, or they deserve to be in a healthy, experience a healthy man, even if their father's not there. You can share, like me and myself or other men, who that little boy just needs to hear things as such like this, because there's things that men logically or analytically, or things we like just connect to on a deeper level than with a woman. you know and one thing I had to really accept deeply within myself is that I was also looking for a father figure for so long, to where I had to really accept that it may not ever come. And when I mean by father figure, it means like the father that was never there, and the acceptance of that I had to father myself and still do. I had to not just heal that feminine aspect, but in that allowed me to heal the masculine aspect within me, that mother and father energy, which is the feminine and masculine principles. And so with that, it allows me to see and become very aware of the men and women who has played a role into who I become in their wounded state. And I said this on a little video short, is that a lot of us haven't accepted that our mothers and fathers and a lot of these people, that a lot of them are leaving this world, and they're probably going to leave this world in a wounded state. They see you through a wounded lens. And then until they take accountability for what has transpired before them, before your arrival, before you came here as a, baby, there are things karmically they have to clear that has nothing to do with you. And sometimes they're not here to do that and accept that. So that's the most challenging things, where I say like that father figure, or accepting that mother and father figure could be jealous, envious, or a lot of things internally that they have going on. They will not ever succumb to accepting that you are to be treated with respect and honor, and to be embraced, to be loved, if they have not done that for themselves. That is one of the most challenging things for a lot of us, especially us that are at, in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and so forth, because mother may be so consumed by religion. This person may be consumed by their toxic relationship or substance abuse. There's so many things. All of that was literally preparation for you to become the healthy version for your matriarchal, which are for you in your matriarchal. A lot of us are here to be the healed version of, whether as a man, the patriarchal. That's why certain things that men can relate to young boys, because we see ourselves as the little boy. And for some women, you see yourself, how could I say this? Like, we see ourselves we see ourselves as men, we see ourselves in the little boy, like connecting at that inner child. And for women, y'all see yourself as a little boy. As a little girl. And I might have said, did I say that? Yeah. So yeah. And then, like I said, some people can, a lot of us, I'm not telling you your perspective, your perception on that, because all I'm saying is to be able, you as women, that healing will allow you to see yourself, the women who are really wounded. Then especially if you have daughters. Once you start acknowledging and taking into account your role, you will be able to see the bridge to your daughter, and then see how your mom played a bridge to you. Then when the full circle moment comes in, at a point in time, you either going to be both, or you can connect yourself to both of them, and in both of that little girl, your daughter and or mother, that's still a little girl. That little girl had to grow into a mother. Then that mother had to give life, and it's a cycle. So it's like, reflect on that trauma of what you experienced, the wounded version. You know better than anybody the parts of your mother that she hides away from the world. And so you are here to be the opposite of that. You are here to be the healed version of that. And in being the healed version of that, there is conflict of interest, or so much of us have avoid conflict. And now I'm not saying something when it has to be physical. I mean in the sense of like the conflict within you, and then it playing out in the physical aspect with telling this person like, look, this hurt me, this bothered me, I don't like that. And once you acknowledge that, that empowers you. Then guess what? Your daughter realized that empowers her. So a lot of this shit that you see with these rappers, these women, a lot of this stuff, they're just exposing, which is probably really deep rooted, is that a lot of that is projecting and preying on your own sexual traumas. Like, I'm not even gonna name names, but when you see the stuff that is really coming out about how these people are being puppeteering and the energies that are using them, it's like literally exposing the darkest of the darkest to try to manipulate your little girls into not really seeing the value of their womb space, their yoni, not really seeing the value of their emotions, not really seeing the value of how they are valuable and worthy without anything having to do with their physical appearance. But again, this is what the world has been feeding and people have been poisoning themselves with. So, and so it's the same thing for me. And it's like I sit back, I realize now as I sit back and observe, and I realize like, wow, I see why like I'm not hanging around certain people, or I'm not allowing access to certain things. Is because it was meant for me to go through this shit with integrity, no matter what was offered to me, no matter, when it came to like, when I see certain men or certain guys I used to hang around, and I even see how we used to treat women, or how we even used to like dog women out, or even just allow them to use us because we didn't know better. Then now let's say I have a daughter, they have a daughter, but it's like some of them, like how they even approach life, and I'm like, wow, it's completely different. There's nothing relatable. And there's no judgment, it's just nothing relatable. If I'm sitting here talking about healing and being more conscious of how we raise our daughters, and here it is, like it's the opposite of that, and I know they're listening to something that has nothing to do with really uplifting women or encouraging them to be secure within themselves, to express their truth, to feel safe and secure, to feel whole, to be empowered, then why would I associate myself with that? It's contradictory, and it's very hypocritical. And that's a deep acceptance as you heal and as you move on. The world needs more fucking healthy and healed, and and that's why I tell people, you're healing not in vain. There's always someone watching. You are the healed version of your lineage, and then there's other youth out there that you will represent the patriarchal and matriarchal to them. When I'm in the community, or I'm going to play basketball, I'm doing certain things, one thing about men is that we reflect on our past naturally, logically, because it's to show, depending on the awareness of where we are, it's so that we have an awareness on where we're going towards the future, what we want to build and what we want to create. Typically around the age of like, I want to say, and this is just I say around like the age of like 20, I want to say 27, 28 until like 35, 40. This is a time where a lot of men are, depending on their awareness of life, is focused on legacy. Now, depending on if that man is wounded, yes, he probably still want to create a child, but a lot of us, due to our programming, what we've experienced, we create that child from a wounded place, or we create that child with no intent, to really be with that woman. But it doesn't mean that that man doesn't want to create a legacy. A lot of us never had or seen a healthy aspect of that, a healthy pattern of that, let alone being given the fact of like, oh, we should chase money or be all these things for the woman rather than be everything for our fucking selves first. That's unhealthy in that. I had to learn that. I had to sit there and accept, like, and this is why I push my message to a lot of, when I go play basketball with a lot of men, I see my internal growth. You know, naturally, again, men focus on legacy when they're in a certain age like that. But then, you know, the difficult thing about that is that, again, when you look out into the world, or when you see a lot of stuff, you only got certain things that have been given to us. Oh, this is the perfect person, or this is the perfect couple because they're a celebrity, or and you don't know what the fuck they going on behind closed door. You don't know what traumas and vices that they have going on. You don't know what comes with their lineage. You don't know the depths of their spiritual trauma and or what comes with these celebrities or people of status. You don't know what karma that they need to clear. And it's for us to think that we need to be like them, for us to be even given this narrative like we all should play basketball, play football, all of that is unhealthy in an aspect. And I'm going to be honest. Because the truth of the matter is, I've sat with people and I sit here like, wow. Like, I'm not, to each his own what people do. But when I look at that pattern, it's a pattern there. When you're teaching every child, or it's taught to them that they should go play football and basketball. And the thing I'm getting at is about the unhealthiness or the loop of that's all that's given, because a lot of them aren't aware of their own traumas that they will have to deal with after that, their anger, the emotion. You know, it's important for a man to be, or a young man to learn the emotional intelligence of who he is, and that comes from the feminine. And that first demonstration or example comes from the mother. So a lot of men, depending on their demographics, especially in America, have dealt with unstable women, have been around women so much that did not honor and respect men, and did not, you know, embrace them, did not encourage them, did not push them into their purpose. So you're given this narrative like your purpose is just football, basketball, or to sell drugs. And even in that, what develops is resentment towards whomever taught them that. Or, you know, resentment towards themselves. Their shame and guilt comes with that, because here it is now, they don't went 20, 30, 40 years alone down the line, where a lot of us knew, like I knew personally of people who you hear about, oh, he the big man in the city, da-da-da-da, he dope man, and da-da-da. It's like, what the fuck is inspirational about that? That's nothing healthy about that. Because those very same people that we thought that were the man was really out here, and this is the common sense. You're really out here because this is from my experience, having a mother who battled with substance abuse. So you're telling me that's empowering to have men put drugs out there? And then to have your mama addicted, and then to have other kids addicted, and then not knowing the experience of that child going home to a mother who is addicted to something like that. Let alone there's nothing in the community. There's none of the rehabilitation centers or a lot of that stuff. Like, let's be real, it's naturally given. There's a medical approach before there's a holistic approach to a lot of this shit. It's not a lot of spiritual approach. There's a difference between medical and holistic. Because a lot of these people are outcasted. They're not cared about. And when you talk about America, when it comes to what had people of a darker shade have experienced, there is not much resources when it comes to certain demographics. So in that process of unhealthiness and healthy or holistic approach, you're talking about the simple fact that there has been nothing healthy in certain demographics. When you're putting purpose, when there has been purposely put certain restaurants, certain things to corrupt and keep people in a lower state of being. And this is what a lot of has been exposed. And it's funny because as I travel and I go to different demographics, I'm like, wow, dang. Like, let's use Ohio and Colorado, like places I've been to where there's a predominantly place that are, let's use the term Caucasian or white. And I'm just using this as a term, not to describe people. It's just to describe the place of the environment or so forth. It's not to classify these people or title them that. It's just the term. But I've noticed, like, wow, they get a lot of healthier stuff. Healthier, there's a lot more farmland, there's a lot more resources. So again, no matter what has been put out there, there's universal law. No matter what has been put out there, now you're seeing the tables turn. And I've been telling people this. The reason I bring awareness to this shit is that there are people such as myself and of different creeds and colors that are aware of what has been happening, not only in this country, but the false leadership, the inauthenticity or unauthenticity of what and how humanity has suffered because of the division. And again, there's nothing, when you look at the word unit or you and I, like uni meaning one, what is united about states if they are separated or they're divided? So there you have it right there when it comes to certain things like that. So the way things are going to balance out is that division or the separation of the illusion is going to highlight the unhealthiness of what has happened, only for there to balance out a more healthy approach. Because I know firsthand of how there isn't a lot of resources. And it's not even just about pointing it out. It's really getting to the root of seeing why the greed and the selfishness and the selfish attachment to shit that people want to control, whether on from the micro to the macro aspect of nothing belongs to you here. Yes, nothing belongs to you here. And the way the energy is going to balance out is that when it comes to y'all giving this illusion of people who have all this stuff, what sense do it make when nothing you can take with you? And this is how a lot of it is, it affects, again, what we have been given to, even as a darker shaded men, young, where we're given this narrative of like, you can only succeed if you do these things. You can own, like, and that's the bullshit. That's the biggest illusion. And, again, now with a more holistic and healthy approach, we have to see that what has affected in certain demographics, why people show up as such. You've ignored our wounds. That's what has happened. The world has ignored the wounds of darker men and darker women. And other women of different nationalities as well. Like and I'm speaking about the country that I grew up in. The world in its totality has ignored the wounds of men that look like me. And even women that look like me, they also have ignored the wounds of men that look like me. And then also women that are of lighter shade also have ignored it. And everyone has did it in their own childish, ignorant way of, and I can go down a list of so long. I've been in a place where it's like some people don't want their kids dealing with darker people, but when their kids go off somewhere and they're fascinated or they're astonished by, actually connecting with people like that. And then you have this root of, people really pushing that narrative. And then I don't blame the child. We want to blame the kid, and in reality, the accountability falls back on the mother and the father. That's what accountability, and this is a country or a place that don't hold nobody accountable. Everybody wants to blame someone. Well, what about your role and what you are enabling? And so, and again, that goes back to even the fact of like, we've ignored our own wounds so long to where Now we want to blame everybody else for what we're suffering from. That even goes to this. That's why I don't get into that. Oh, the last thing people need is, the last thing a lot of people need is, I can't speak for everybody else, but right now, that's why the monetary system and a lot of shit is happening like this. It's so balance can be restored. You have a country where you have millions and hundreds of thousands of people now that are suffering from housing, the housing market, the food sources, and so forth. All of this is purposeful. It may sound wow, but it's to bring about something new. And it's, again, I always encourage women, because a lot of you have a voice. A lot of you can create a change. You gotta ask yourself, what have you been enabling to keep a lot of shit going? What have you been giving your energy to? And I had to do the same thing when it came to, again, I represent the patriarchal, so I had to pay very close attention to not just where I'm at, because a leader is not just a leader where you see on TV and so forth. You are a leader first in your own life. Who is leading your life? How are you leading your tribe? Are you doing it with integrity? Are you also leading in a way of your community by standing in your power, by being honest? Because again, that's what the world doesn't have. Like, that's what the world been missing. Y'all know nothing about these people, and you automatically assume that they walking in integrity or that they have integrity. And this has been the fakest I've ever seen people live in my life. Fake it till you make it. For what? What do we need to fake for? Everyone, shit, it's an equal playing field right now. Everyone is struggling or trying to make ends meet, or just, and then even you got people that are so wealthy, they struggling with the fact of like, hey, do they want to give or do they want to hold on to it? Trust me, y'all, I've been around a lot of it. I've seen the people. It's their pride, it's their ego. They sit back. And when it comes to that, this is what's being restored. You have people who represent a higher ranking in the spirit. So you will meet someone who may have all these accolades and all these things, and to the world they are this big athlete, to the world they are this big actor and so forth. They'll have all these things, but they don't have integrity. They don't honor the principles, the feminine and masculine principles. If they did, they wouldn't allow the women and children to suffer the way they do right now. And that's what's being exposed. That's what's being exposed. Who are they leading? I mean, I can go deep, real deep. These are your leaders? Remind me of Wakanda. This is your king? This is your king? You know who you are. This is your king? King of what? Of what empire? You better pay attention to how right now, who played a very much role into help aiding in a part of what America came to be. And that'll show you that color don't make you kin. This is the very thing Malcolm talked about. Y'all keep thinking that certain people, they're not coming to save you. They're being puppeteering. You don't know what they do behind closed doors. Some of us know what they do, but they're going to expose themselves, and they're going to slowly drift to the back. They're going to slowly drift into the audience. Because the thing is, they had an opportunity. You got to realize everyone's given an opportunity. No one is exempt. A lot of people you can either do shit unrighteous or righteous. See, that's the thing about integrity. Integrity will have your ass living a life to where someone can come and offer you this just because of your gifts, just because of certain things. But in reality, they're just coming to use it and abuse it. They're coming to use it for the benefit for themselves and not for the collective. And so this is why the times are changing and why you're seeing people fall from grace. Look, it's the message. Y'all fuck around and get confused by the messenger. Y'all try to attack the messenger and don't realize it's the message. And a lot of the message y'all miss because the call come from inside the house, and you more concerned about what's happening outside of it. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The healers, the light is here. The righteous are now in power. And the unrighteous know exactly who we are. There's nothing to prove. Balance is being restored. And this has to do with a lot of the unrighteous know that they played a part in creating the wound. And there's no judgment. And they played a lot. A lot of these people, you know, they play a lot. It's just like when you look at certain shit on TV that's a distraction, certain things where as you heal and become more aware, you will realize who represents a toxic masculine or a wounded masculine, and more so a wounded feminine. And you can see yourself. You'll be able to see, like, I'll be able to observe, like, dang, I remember that. I went through something like that, or I even saw something like that. But now the approach is different. Like I said, integrity will have your ass realizing, like, well, I may have to be out on the street, but I stood 10 toes down. I was true to myself. You know, you got to realize there's certain characters or certain people who lost it all, only for the Most High to return it tenfold. And everybody not willing to go the lengths or really go to that place of where they it's not so much of, yeah, it's like they seem like they lost everything, but you were just becoming naked in the spirit. The divine was just reminding you that all these things that you thought that you were supposed to attach yourself to, I'm going to show you that it means nothing. It means nothing if you don't know who you are, if you don't know thyself. It means nothing. So this is why, again, a lot of us are, whether you want to say on the sidelines, you know, a lot of us will just sit back waiting for that, you know, that what do they call it? The wheel to turn. And, you know, as much as we sat back and be like, oh man, it's the patience. You don't plant the seed and receive the harvest in the same season. See, everybody that planted seeds, a lot of this shit was GMO. And a lot of fruit that people were given was not righteous. A lot of things people were given. You got to pay attention to people who really are so prideful in what they have and what they're doing in all aspects of your life. And really pay attention, is it really righteous fruit? Because a lot of these people who you think they are in these places, they had an opportunity to make a difference. They had an opportunity. That's why I tell you about generational curses. They had an opportunity to break a generational curse by whatever their influence is, whatever position of authority that they're in, wherever they are. They had an opportunity just like you and I do. That's just like me. I use myself. It's just like I have an opportunity to change the narrative every day that I get up, to be better. Yes, I am better than I was. So when people, oh, you think you better than, I am better. I am more consistent. I am more, that's what self-mastery is. That's what, you know, learning, being a student. I am much better at my craft, at what I'm creating. I'm much better. Now, that's the thing about remaining a student. Now, the distraction is when people believe that what you have seen to be true about anybody. Our kids deserve healthy versions of ourselves. Most importantly, we deserve healthy versions of ourselves. That's what the world is moving into. We deserve a holistic approach. That's the only way shit is going to change. Because the last thing people think they need is, oh, we need all this money. What about your fucking inner self, man? What about your emotions? What about your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, self-improvement? Because I'm telling you, a lot of y'all going to fall away, fade away with these very people who you think, like, the energy has shifted. At a point in time, yeah, the energy was more focused on these people who y'all assumed that had this power, but that was the illusion. They were giving your kids, telling them like, oh yeah, come buy this, come do this, and come do this, and oh, come see me here, come see this show, yeah. Man, that shit is done. Who am I to tell you? It's done. It's done. Ain't nobody want to hear about how much somebody making no more. If you ain't doing shit for these mothers or trying to plant some type of seed in whatever unique way you know how. Like I said, I can only do it from what I've given myself. I can only give what I have. And in that's just like making a video, whether it's encouraging, that is a part of planting seeds. Whether going to mentor, whether going to even just being healthy. A lot of these young men and women have never seen a healthy masculine or feminine or, patriarchal or matriarchal figure. That's the thing I was getting to, is that when you choose to get up and you just try to better yourself, self-improvement, it don't gotta be perfect. You can just get up and be like, man, I'm glad I didn't do this and do that. I had to turn my life around when I realized the importance of emotional intelligence. When I realized the wounding of what I experienced with most of the matriarchal women in my family was to guide me to be emotionally intelligent, to reach the young women, to reach the especially the little girls and young women and women that will grow into, mothers, and even the mothers that are aware of receiving the message. So that they know the importance of, that little boy don't mean you no good. Or, watch out for that man. Certain things where y'all know a lot of you mothers, again, all of y'all have an opportunity to change the narrative. If you have went through sexual trauma, emotional abuse, physical abuse, you have an opportunity to acknowledge that, to speak to that abuser or whomever it is, or however you want to approach it, to write about it, to transmute it, and so forth, and then be able, that is also planting seeds of righteousness so that your kids can know that your legacy. And this is my message before I go, man. If that nigga or whomever it is, if that motherfucker if he's at a place, especially right now, and I'm speaking for men right now, I don't want to hear nothing about that rapper depending on, like, it's certain people that I see what they're doing. But let me tell you something. Man, if this motherfucker ain't talking about legacy, planting seeds, and I ain't just talking about in your life, but for the other youth. And I ain't talking about posting it, recording it, giving money, and then want to record. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about him showing up and actually trying to heal for himself and grow together and heal and realize that he represents the patriarchal, he represents the fact of, like, he plays a vital role in how his son and other men that's growing up in this world are going to be influenced. So when you see these rap, whomever it is, this certain music and shit, man, let me tell you something. From my perspective, I ain't got nothing for it, because just the fact of even having a child or something like that, no. When you on a certain journey, you realize, like, wow, how much it impacted me, how much it had an influence on me. So why, ask yourself, who do you really want your child to be influenced by or to really listen to? Because I'm telling you, spiritual warfare had them out here battling with shit that you don't even know they battling with. And sometimes they need that activation from that man, from a divine masculine, from a man. Because in order to be a divine masculine, you have to realize, like, it comes with the fact of me knowing, or like knowing the importance of, like, the wounded aspect of that. Before I became who I am, I had to realize, like, I had to see the wounded masculine who also reflected the wounded feminine. So a lot of what the wounded feminine gave birth to was the wounded masculine. Vice versa. That wounded masculine was projecting and creating more wounded feminine. Until I realized the healing aspect of that, let me acknowledge that this part of me within my darkness, the feminine, I need to accept, acknowledge, and to be able to transmute this into a more healthy approach. And that's how when you hear negative and positive, that doesn't mean like the negative is just, it's important as well. Do no harm, but I ain't taking no shit. And that's why you'll be able to peep and have a spirit of discernment where you'll be able to see who's trying to just come along, hold on to your coattail, because all of a sudden what they're doing is falling apart. I'm telling you, all that shit that people were doing, they do not. These men, certain men, do not represent a divine masculine. They are, a lot of them are a part of and were a part of divine, like the wounded masculine. I don't care what status and what they were doing. When you see certain people being exposed to what they've done, I'm telling you from being in a wounded masculine energy. These men are and still are represent wounded masculinity, and that which reflects wounded femininity. Just because that's your favorite singer and so forth and all like that, okay, you have an attraction, you have all these things, physical attraction and so forth, but deep down, you know, do you want your daughter praising and idolizing these men when you know nothing about them? Same goes for women. That's how I look at it. It's no fucking way I would want my daughter to even think or assume to be anything like what a lot of these women rappers or whatever it is talking about. Absolutely not. They don't even value themselves. They don't even value who they are. And most importantly, a lot of them are coming from a wounded and traumatic place. And that is purposely put there. The powers that were is purposely put there to reach the youth, to continue what? A same fucking loop. Nah, those days, it's done with. That's why you're seeing a more healthier approach, because people have acknowledged what they went through. The healing is already happening. The healing is happening in reverse, meaning that the wounding. And a lot of you, whether you have a daughter and a son or have both, the importance of that is that you all represent some type of matriarchal and patriarchal figure in their life. I'm just letting you know from why it's no fucking way I would ever let my princess listen to some of these women. What? And it's important that you have a partner who holds you accountable for certain stuff. I had my partner say, we shouldn't say that, we shouldn't listen. Absolutely not. My princess know about classical music, jazz, and all stuff like that. Stuff that's like really balance her and harmonious. Now, of course, you're going to have emotions. That's a part of a human experience. Of course, you're going to be around kids who also have that. But I tell you one thing. If you look at the demographics or see exactly what kids grow up in, you cannot tell me that music or a lot of shit don't have an effect on them. Absolutely. Yes, it does. And I'm telling you from experience. I listen to classical music. I listen to a lot of stuff that really, like, I realize, like, whoa. Now, there are certain music that I've listened to for balance and listen to the message, but I wouldn't, what? When I look at certain men that are so-called represented, that are at a place where, who put these people in place to think that they have that can come out here, y'all call these people leaders, or I don't give a fuck, politicians or not. How the fuck do they have so much say so over your own child's life that they came through you as a mother? And some of you fathers, like, what? That gangster shit ain't never been something I wanted to be a part of. Ever. I just knew that I was here to do something differently. Was I around it? Absolutely. Was I almost caught up in it? Absolutely. And then I started to see the consequences from that shit. When I saw niggas I know personally right now are in prison right now. In prison right now. Then I saw the corruption where I knew people that don't look like me who did such heinous crimes or whatever it is, but they're not exempt from karma too. Let y'all know that too. Because a lot of people that, what they call it, white collar, blue collar crime, a lot of that shit, look, karma don't miss nobody. And that's what y'all also seeing being exposed. There are a lot of people behind a lot of things. And due to money, due to their own self-attachment, again, the lack of integrity, they are not willing to give up their earthly possessions because of their own fear. And that's the thing that's happening. The world is evolving. We are evolving from unhealthy, it's so many ways to look at it. The world is evolving from medical to holistical. The world is evolving from being in such a dark place to where everything is being highlighted to where it's like we can approach it more healthy. It's balancing out in so many ways. Even when people wear different creeds and colors that would never have considered being with people because of this spiritual practice or this religion and so forth, Man, the bigger picture to all of that is that source, the Most High, is allowing people to go through a awakening or whatever it is to come together for the oneness of all. I'm telling you, I sit back and I hear certain conversations about people that have these fucking conversations, and a lot of these men, a lot of stuff, again, from my experience, it's all about ego. It's all about what they have. It's all about sitting around destroying, nothing really of substance. I hear talks about with people, military, all this. I be like, that's all y'all get to talk. That's all y'all talk about. It's how you go. Have you gone to other countries and through greed and all like this, and stuff that is really not boasted about? You become a veteran, then they put you out on the street. You go over there and kill innocent people, then you come back with PTSD. Let's talk about it. And you think that's the war over there when the same shit go on right here? Same shit go on right there in the same hoods. You think I sit there and trust some of these leaders that soon as some shit happen, the first thing they do is pop up on the motherfucking TV? I ain't calling no names out. You know who you are. Y'all all watch us. We know what time it is. The time is changing. Because y'all don't really be in those communities. Y'all get paid or y'all do whatever it is to be a little agent and just pop up, and all of a sudden, you don't represent. That's why I told you I stay away from that black and white shit. You represent the black community. What about the global citizens? What about the global people? The sovereignty of people like that? How you represent everybody? Y'all don't represent shit. You don't represent me. And I know a lot of men that can relate to that. Man, people don't be caring about how much you make, because when you come to the hood and somebody got a survival mindset and these kids ain't 8, and there's people still out on the street from experience of knowing that there's people still out in New Orleans from Katrina, and y'all over here want to praise basketball players about, oh my God, he got this big check and he did it. Man, what is y'all really on? What is y'all really on? This is from experience of traveling, realizing wow, seeing little kids. What is y'all really on when a lot of these states where the homeless population is the biggest in certain states like California and all this other shit, and y'all really praising people who making billions or making millions and shit, and you walk right past these people? Skid Row, yeah, I'm telling you, I travel, I've been there. Let's talk about it. How can you say a country care about their people when they're allowing them to go through this shit? Man, please. And y'all talk about leadership? Leading them where? To self-destruct. And a lot of these people that got these people that's going through a lot of this mental stuff, man, I seen love and light. I seen healing to them. I seen not just healing to them, for them to really face a lot of that stuff, because, man, these folks is flipping out, bruh. These folks can't handle what's really going on. Not only their own internal spiritual warfare. When you got mothers, you got people out here. I told you years ago, I saw it firsthand when I lived in California. People running in stores stealing stuff. I mean, what are people left to do? People acting like inflation ain't affecting everybody. How is change gonna come? You gotta destroy the old before new can be presented. That's why I encourage you, the best thing you can have right now is a peace of mind, inner peace. Find peace and accept where you are, whatever cards you were dealt. Get to that place of deep acceptance and being present and being in gratitude wherever you are. Whether you're in a van, a car, whatever it is. Whatever it is you are, just get in a place where you give gratitude, and the universe will respond to that. Because there are great things. Mark my words, there are great things coming to these places that have been forgotten about, and to those people. And it's going to be exposed who is also a part of not really caring about that. That's what's being exposed. A lot is being exposed. Why do y'all care so much about the next shoes and all this other shit? Now people don't care about it because a lot of these big companies, a lot of this stuff, boy, they taking a blow. Because they were so focused on greed. They were so focused on their own selfishness. And now it's backfiring. Because now it's a more holistic approach. Not about how much this person can get and all like this and this ha, kiki. Like the elder say, I'm going to leave you with this. The same thing make you laugh, make you cry. And the last shall be first. And right now, the last is first. Peace and bliss and shalom.